Neil, looking at Friday, how happy were you with the way that Tom Pope and Anton Forrester linked up in the second half?
Uh, well, obviously the first half was a non-event and was a very poor game in terms of quality. Felt there was a lot of endeavour, but it was a poor game in that respect. But second half it was I would say one of the pluses, especially late in the game where I think we probably had the majority of attacks. Probably the last 15 minutes, they obviously teamed up well, especially with a goal, and you're hoping that they're going to have that impact when you put a substitute on.
How much does that performance and that result highlight that in League Two sometimes you can't just play the fancy free-flowing stuff like we saw against Oxford in the FA Cup the week before? Sometimes you've got to dig in and you've got to grind out results.
Well, I think it would be nice if you could always play attractive football, but realistically at the bottom of the table in the relegation scrap, it's all about just trying to dig out results, and some games are not going to be pretty, but you've got to try and stay in the game, and you've got to try and you might not get many chances in the game, but you've got to try and defend properly, and if you get any chances, you've got to try and take them. But there'll be lots of games that are not going to be pretty on the eye, but it's got to be about getting the result.
As a manager, when you've got players coming back from injury and maybe new players coming in, how much do you have to be open maybe at times to adapting your team shape and system to bring players in who you've not maybe had a chance to think about before?
I think it would be wrong to just say you're going to play one way and that's all you're going to do, because I don't think you can do that. I think you've got to look at, you're always trying to get your best players on the pitch, what you think are your best players in a formation that suits them. I think there will be occasions where you will look at the opposition, and it would be silly to not have a game plan for certain teams, but I think we have to concentrate on our own team, what we want to do, and then try and do it in the game. Sometimes you might want to, even like Friday night, it looks like you're probably going to try and get a point, but it was never mentioned in the team talk or at half time. We're always trying to win the game, but a lot depends obviously how the opposition play, how you're playing yourself on the night, and sometimes it can look like you're just going for a point, but I don't believe that's the case. I think you have to go away from home and try and win the game. Obviously at the end of the game, if you come away with a point, you think, well, it's not a bad point, but certainly we'll try and be positive, and even away from home try and win the match.
What's the latest regarding the situation with Chris Eagles?
Well, he trained for a couple of days last week, and I had a chat with him, put an offer to him. So like I said, it's still in the ball's in his court, but you can only wait for so long. So we'll see what the next few days brings, but if it's not sort of decided by another sort of couple of days, then I would say that nothing will happen on that.
The fact that you've offered him something, does that highlight that you've been impressed with what you've seen?
He's got a good pedigree, but like I said, I'm not really bothered about what he's done in the past. It's just if he can offer anything going forward, and because he's in a, his fitness is good. He's obviously kept himself fit, even though he's not been playing. Then he's obviously worth taking on board. But like I say, you can only make somebody an offer, and it's up to the player then. It's down to him.
And a signing's been made off the pitch regarding a new chief scout. What can you tell us?
Gareth McClelland. I've worked with him for the last I don't know how many years, maybe 9 or 10 years. He's somebody that I trust, and again, he's done a good job for me over the recent years. I've managed to get some good players, and he was somebody that wanted to bring to the club. It's slightly different because we haven't got a full-time scout. We've actually got Gareth, and we've got another lad called Jamie Hand who's doing some scouting down south as well. So they're tending to split it, with Gareth being northern based. So they obviously got a good knowledge of non-league as well, which I think is going to be important. But they can also look to league players as well. But certainly we're going to need a good knowledge of the non-league market, because we're only one, at the moment we're one league above that. So it would be silly to not to look at players who are hungry, from that level.
How key a role can that be, Chief Scout, when it comes to January and certainly in the summer?
It's important. Look, my job, or the job of any manager, is always going to be dependent on what players you can get on the pitch. So the recruitment of players is obviously key. You need to get obviously your recruitment right. And not everybody's, we all make mistakes. There's always players who some do better than you think. Some are probably you might be disappointed with, but you sign players for the right reason. But as long as we've done our background and we've got a good knowledge of those who we're bringing in, then find out what sort of character they're like. There's a lot of things go into it, but if they tick the right boxes and we can get those players in, then obviously, the more that scouts can look at them, the staff can look at them, then it gives you a better, view on overall of the player you're bringing into the club. But it is key to, if we're going to be successful, it's going to be down to what players we can put on the park.